good morning, everybody. This is AJ, and this is AJ's Street Notes and Commentary. This is part 2 of self-examination of my series, I Need Love. I want to thank you guys for joining me here. And let us not forget LCSA, Life and Community Solutions Association Incorporated. You can support them over there on Life and Community Solutions Association Incorporated.org or changeandfillthevoid.services. Please support that organization as I do. They're looking to help our most vulnerable people in our communities. If you value your community, if you value yourself and your family, you would want to help an organization such as LCSA. Because, hey, as you help someone else, you might be helping yourself someday. Y'all enjoy the music until I come back and begin part 2 of self-examination coming from my series, I Need Love. All right, everybody. I'm going to get right into it. I am going to get right into the conversation right now as it regards to I Need Love self-examination. I hope that you all checked out part 1 on yesterday. Listen, I'm doing these things in less than 10 minutes. Okay, I'm drinking some tea if y'all wondering what's going on. So if you hear a little sipping on this side, you know I'm drinking a little tea. Self-examination. So I'm going to start it right now with a couple of questions. I always start off with asking questions. And so you can answer these questions. I mean, I can't hear you, but we're going to have a Q&A that comes after the series of podcast where I respond to the questions that may be in various inboxes on where I load this podcast as regarding to the series. Okay. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. So, and moving forward in self-examination, one thing I've learned in life is that you have to examine yourself in ways of your philosophies, your doctrines, your thoughts, your ideals of society and traditions, and how do you feel about how you were brought up, the environment, all that stuff matters. Where you were brought up, your interaction with different types of people, it matters. All these things, life matter, your life matter. Love matters. Relationships matter. Getting married, divorce, all that stuff has an impact on your life, whether it be positive or negative, how you view life, how you address life, how you enter into life. Now, when I say enter into life, I'm not talking about the day of your birth. I'm talking about how you enter into life when you come to a place of understanding what it means to love and to be loved, what that looks like, what that means. The biggest problem that I've learned in my life as regards to, when I examine myself and I look back over my past experiences, things that stood out to me the most, and y'all hear me talk about this quite often, even in other lives and podcasts, I've had this type of conversation. But the one thing that stands out the most as it relates to my life is the impact that religion had on my life. The impact that religion and traditions had on my life. And to some degree, the environment that I was brought up in. This ideal of thinking that you're supposed to be perfect, that you're supposed to be a person that never make mistakes. And if you make mistakes, you should feel so sorry and so afraid that you instantly got to go to the correction board and write a sentence over and over and over again, as you had to do in school. Say, I would never do that again. And you say, I will never lie again. I will never lie again. I will never lie again. I'm pretty sure that each of you are familiar with that. And so the way religion had an impact on my life is that I trusted people I believed what certain individuals said as it was relating to my life. Had nothing to do with their life, but as it was related to my life, I allowed other people to enter into my space and take control of my independence, rob me of my independent thought, my point of views, rob me of the opportunity to ask questions. I dare you ask questions. I'm your spiritual leader. You should trust me. What I tell you is true. The Bible told me so. And I believed it. But I believed it because I had examples around me that was in the house. I've said often that I had a mother and a grandmother who were Christians. And the reason why they were Christians is because they did not like the life that they were living in. And it wasn't that they were doing anything wrong. For the most part, it was about the men they had married that caused the trauma in their lives and the disturbance that was going on in their lives, where every time they tried to move forward, they found themselves going back. And then rather than address the real issue relating to the men that they have chosen to marry, they start blaming themselves and saying that something is wrong with me and I need to correct my life. Because sometimes that's what religion does. It causes you not to look at anybody else and only focus on yourself 100% and blame yourself for the shortfalls of anything that's going on in your life because you're trying to live this perfect and wholesome life, this spiritual, upstanding, rightful, righteous life. And so you go along with what you're being told. You know, you have to be open to consistently going to worship, learning from somebody and whom one day was a stranger to you. But because of their relationship with God and the love that you have for God, you took chances with the person that told you that they loved God too. Not realizing that they had imperfections and they weren't perfect. They were human beings just like you. Not knowing that there were times in their lives where they divorced, that there were times in their life that they might have had substance issues. There were times in their life where they may have did time in prison or in jail. Those secrets that they dared to share with somebody else because that wasn't your concern. You wasn't all up in their business. But the flip side of that is that they were all up in yours. They were all up in your business. Wanted to know what you were doing and how you were living. And so when I look at my life, when I evaluate my experience in life, I have to put religion in the center. That was the driving force of all the decisions, of most of the decisions that I made when it came to interacting with somebody else and making some decisions that I probably never should have made. Committing to the circumstances that I probably never should have committed to. And one thing about religion is that they put titles on you. They call you out. They make you what they want you to be, what they desire for you to be. And I know there's a thin line between an occult and a relationship. And we're somewhat dealing with that right now in the environment of America. We're dealing with that right now. But as I talk about self-examination, you have to ask yourself this one question so you won't be bamboozled like I was. What are your thoughts on religion? How do you respond to somebody that you're meeting and the first thing they say, or the first question they ask you, do you love God? What are your spiritual views? Do you go to church? Now, there was a time in my life where I would have celebrated those questions. But now I have questions to those questions. I don't really celebrate those questions. I just come back with more questions. because I want to know what do you really mean with that? What are your expectations of me as it regards to religion? Well, they may ask, well, are you saying you don't believe in God? Especially when you start asking questions. Are you saying you're not spiritual? No, I didn't say that. I'm asking you a question. And I think that the question should be in return is, okay, so if this is who you are, how committed are you to these things? What does that look like to you? What does that mean to you? You say you go to church? Why? You say you've been blessed? How? And what does that have to do with me? Are you saying that you like me and I look good and all of the other stuff, but when it comes to my relationship with any sort of denomination of religion or God or deity or whatever you want to call it, it depends on how I respond to you as relating to religion or God. The reason why I brought up religion, because of the environment that we're in, and also because that is the driving force, hear me good, of most relationships, is how you view a deity, religion, church, spirituality. That is the driving force. And I don't care who you talk to, most people that you talk to will tell you that I've had some experience with religion, or some type of doctrine or a tradition, a philosophy, as I often say, has an impact on relationships. And the question is, what are your thoughts on religion? Now, nowadays, you'll hear people say, I am spiritual. But what does that mean? I'm spiritual. Because it's ironic that people would say that they're spiritual until they get involved in a relationship and you see nothing that is spiritual. Nothing about their attitude shows any wholesome ideal of good spirits, loving type of spirit, kind spirit. None of it. They're still doing what everybody else is doing. They're still living like everybody else is living, right? If you put them beside somebody else that never identified themselves as spiritual or Christian or any type of God-believing person, and yet the person that is claiming all this stuff is yet living like the person that is not claiming all this stuff. And when it comes to really showing love and putting love into the atmosphere, you find the person that is less of what you think is a religious person doing more for the ideal of discipleship and love than the person that claims it. And why is that? But a lot of divorces have taken place in the church. Probably more so than those outside of the church. A lot of cheating has happened within the church. Manipulation. And the question is, why? How is that possible if God is the foundation of it all? Many people have gotten engaged and gotten married to folks because they say, God told me to. What are your thoughts about that? When you examine yourself, you got to ask yourself, are you that type of person? Where are you spiritually, if you are anywhere spiritually? Are you atheist? And if you are, that's not a bad thing, because that's your independence. That's your right. That's your liberty. That's your freedom. You can choose this, that, or the other. It's your choice. Just like you make a decision to choose who you want to date and who you want to love. Another thing about religion is that it dictates to people on who has the control of the situation as regards to who should address whom. Most faith-believing individuals believe that women should not be looking for men. Men look for women. Men should address a woman. And that is a tradition. Most women feel and think the same way, with the exception of a few who says, I like it, I'm going to try to get it. But there are the overall, ideal is that men should address women if they're interested, if they like what they see. And that's, but we're living in a different time, and in a different environment in different generations, right? Different from when I came up. The younger generation is just do whatever they want to do. They love whomever they want to love. If they like you, they're going to confront you, whether it be a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. Female or male, it doesn't matter. What matters to them is that their needs are being met, and they're excited. They're chilling. They get to do whatever they want to do, how they want to do it. And I'm not saying any of that stuff is wrong. If you're getting good out of it and your life is content and you're where you want to be, fine. Because that's none of my business, right? But I'm going to talk about that in the future as I cover, these various topics regarding I need love. I'm going to cover all that. I'm going to talk about generations and all that stuff. But I want you, as you get into self-examination, the most important thing I want you to keep on your mind as I get ready to close this part of it, because I'm trying to keep these things within 10 minutes, which is very hard. But one thing I want you to always keep in mind is that this is my saying. This has always been my saying. You are the author of your story. Okay? You are the author of your story. And you write your book as it relates to your life. Don't let anybody write your book. Because they're only going to put in it what they view as what is right and wrong according to their own standards and their independent thoughts, but not on their own lives because they're too busy being in yours.